Aleksey Novikov-Priboy, Submariners. Translated by Orest Holy. Part 4. The moray is clipping, swallowing space. Diesel engines rattle persistently. At dawn, the sea greeted us with a vigorous northwesterly breeze, wild as a stallion. The clouds in the east blazed like hot iron in the forge. The sea was awash with blooming peonies. The sun emerged, showering everyone with its morning greetings. The wave glimmered with sparkling greens. But soon after everything dimmed. The sky and sea scowled. The elements were preparing for some kind of celebration, and after lunch the wild party began. I stand on the upper deck, leaning onto the steel ladder leading to the bridge. Hold fast! The sea growls and roars with countless gaping mouths. Dark, toothless maws seize the boat, choke on the steel, and then spew it out. Oh, you don't like it? Boiling hills swell, slam into submarine sides. It's nothing. Our moray rights itself like a roly-poly. She swings her sharp bow high. Now, it seems, she's about to vault into the raging air. Then, a moment later, she plunges into a foaming mass of waves, and the homeless, vagrant wind, my eternal friend, whistles into my ears. Congratulations on your marriage. A wave crashes over me, laughing. Take a shower! Ha! I'm soaked to the bone. I don't want to go below decks. My chest is on fire. I watch the sullen clouds loiter by, and golden cracks of lightning light them up. The sky laughs with rolling thunder. The captain stands on the bridge with binoculars in his hand. His lips are pursed tightly. The barb of his beard has been blunted. His grey eyes glare at the hazy horizon. He shouts to me, "Why are you here for no reason?" "Admiring the chaos in nature, sir." The captain waves his hand dismissively, smiles. A big, green-eyed wave sweeps over and growls, rushing astern. "What should I say to your Polina?" And the wind has gone mad beyond measure. It bursts my nostrils, twists my eyes, wets my lips with salty kisses. The whole stretch of the sea is foaming, and thoughts are foaming in my head, drunk without wine. What if I toss my heart into the sea? Wild waves will seize it, spin it, sing songs and carry it to its native shores, where it will burn and shine like Sirius in the sky. Oh, make noise, violent storm, make more noise. Today I have a jubilant holiday. I am in the middle of crazy orgy. This is my wedding being commemorated. Everything around me is in motion. The water parts, then closes in with a ferocious scowl, revealing foamy tongues to the sky. Overhead, in unreachable heights, roams a drunken mob. They rend iron, tossing 1,000-pound barrels from the peaks of steel mountains. Flames lash out against the churning clouds. Someone sets off fireworks. The entire span is engulfed by sounds. Here is a liturgy, here is a laugh, a clack of shutters, notes of a clarinet, a rumble of pipes, a roar of a lion's pride. Waves wag me with white flags. 500 horsepower thrums inside the boat's hull. In my mind, I unleashed this herd of horses upon the surface of the sea. They gallop fiercely into the misty distance while our moray gives chase, dancing, hopping, jumping, swaying over potholes like a sleigh on a snowdrift. Hey, hold on tight! Only diamond dust swirls in the air. No, no king has ever celebrated such a wild wedding. The old frail god could not stand it, began to shed large tears. I went below to the rattling of motors, to the acrid smell of burned diesel. I passed through the wardroom. The navigational officer on his small table peruses through nautical charts. In front of him are various instruments: a barometer, a speed indicator, a distance indicator, a depth gauge, a Sperry compass, and communication tubes. Exec Golubev lies on a bunk in his tiny cabin. His legs are propped up, resting against the bulkhead. He whistles songs like a nightingale. The majority of the crew is in the bow compartment. It is stuffy here. Some suffer from seasickness, laying in bunks. Galley Seal is so queasy that he lies motionless with a green face and glassy eyes. The sailors cover him with a white sheet and start singing "Let Me Rest with the Saints." Someone laughs. Others grumble. Why must our captain be in such a hurry? Yeah, it's time to dive, to rest. One sailor asks, "Why is this storm happening?" Another explains, "It's the main devil letting out a cough." Zobov raises his head, looking disheveled and confused. What does it matter if it's devil or God coughing? You can't shut either of them up. By evening, we altered our course, and the boat started to roll heavily from side to side. I can barely hold on to my bank. We feel like children in a baby swing with a furious storm as our nanny. It kicks the iron sides and growls, "Sleep, you dark devils!" It bellows, hollers songs, mischievous and dissolute like a drunken woman. It's getting angrier and angrier that it cannot lull us to sleep. Our baby swing rocks impetuously, twitches, our stomachs churn. We can find no respite. We can go no further. Moray begins to choke. Captain orders rigging for dive. The boat rests at a depth of 150 feet. No pitching. The storm reaches us only as a very distant rumble, and it is quiet here. Only fans buzz like beetles, equalizing the air. Seasickness is gone. Everyone's mood lifts. Galley Seal begins to cook. The gramophone is playing, and Vyaltseva sings a love song, her voice filled with a playful thrill. The boat cheers up. I imagine Polina, where she might be and what she is doing. Perhaps she looks at the raging sea and worries about my fate. But could it be something else? Mukhaboev is persistent and impudent. I try not to dwell on him and instead ask Zobov, "What did you do before Navy?" He lays on a bunk belly up, staring at an electric bulb, lost in thought. "What do you need it for?" "Just because." just because even a pimple doesn't pop. Oh, your tricks again. Zobov turns his face toward me, mutters lazily. I've been through fires and waters, brass pipes and devil's teeth, and yet here I am, safe and sound. As to what happens next, I do not know. That enough for you? Enough. Thank you. Then I approached the topic from a different angle. What do you plan to do after the war? I don't think about it at all. Strong neck will find a yoke. Zalekin is tinkering with the gramophone, his favorite pastime. The sailors persistently pester him. Sing us a song, brother. Go to hell, Zalekin cuts them off. Oh, you devil, what it is to you? We would love to listen. Go find yourself something to do. Better listen to the gramophone. Playing a century-old Linden. The best damn song around. I'll make sure they play it on my deathbed, and if I have enough strength left, I'll sing it myself. I'll go to my grave with this song in my throat. Zalekin arches an eyebrow and stands, enchanted by the sinner's tenor. The icon of Nicholas the Wonder Worker hangs above the doors of the officers' section. From behind the glass of a gilded case, he looks sternly at the sailors, dissatisfied with the lack of attention. Instead of prayers, he has to listen to the most terrible curses imaginable. Of the entire team, only one person treats him in a Christian way, a young sailor named Mitroshkin. And tonight, after dinner, before sleeping under the blanket, he turns to the icon and crosses himself. Planning your time in paradise? Zobov asks him with a sly smile. Yes, because I'm not an atheist like you. Mitroshkin is angry. I know of no saint among the sailors. It's all in vain. Get off me, you magnetic soul. But Zobov continues calmly. Don't be angry, just hear me. Take the donkey, for example. It carried Christ all around, and what for? Didn't get to paradise anyway. Other sailors speak up. It is true, what the wireless man said. That donkey had some serious connections, but in the end, it still ended up an unfortunate donkey. The crew laughs, and Mitroshkin curses from under the blanket. We surfaced early in the morning. The horizon is clear. We proceed on our course. Only the swell remains of yesterday's storm. The moray rocks gently. Above us, the waterless oceans shine with a fresh blue, and beneath us, the shifting steppe, without end and edge, the polished hills sway, gleaming with broken mirror shards. The diesel engines knock with stubborn determination, pushing the boat ever forward towards the mysterious horizon. What awaits us there, beyond this blue line? During lunch, just as we had begun the last course, our favorite compote, the emergency bell rang. This sharp and loud sound never fails to rattle our nerves. We dropped bowls and rushed to our stations. It looks like this time we may be facing an enemy. Take into compensating, orders the captain. I take into compensating. Electric motors forward, 900 amps per shaft. We dive to a periscope depth. After the combat alarm, All chatter is strictly prohibited. It is quiet in the boat. You can hear how thinly and mournfully the electric motors sing their song. What is going on above? Only the captain knows. Only he alone is connected to the outside world through the periscope. And all the rest, more than 40 submariners, are no longer men. We are living mechanisms augmenting the innumerable mechanical devices of the submarine. In a quarter of an hour we surfaced. "Man your guns!" We poured out of the hatches into the upper deck to discover a German steamer ahead. Upon our signal she stopped, swaying massively on a lazy swell. We approached slowly, greeted by the moose of the cattle on the deck. Exec Golubev shouted something in German through a megaphone, causing a stir. A few minutes later, the entire crew got into the lifeboats and paddled away. The boat with the captain and the first mate headed toward us. The artillery crew sent shell after shell into the steamer, but she was sinking slowly. A fire erupted at the stern. Bulls raised a desperate bellow. Several of them jumped overboard and quickly swam away from the ship. We will be taking the captain and first mate with us, while the others are left adrift in lifeboats. They head off toward a barely visible shore. It is going to take a while to reach it. The moray turned to the previous course. The bulls that leapt from the sinking steamer are now trailing behind us, swimming in our wake. There are 5 of them in total, with the largest one, a black and white-headed bull, leading the way. Its horns have been torn off or maybe shot off by a shell. It raises its bloodied muzzle and lets out a mournful moo. The vessel burns fiercely, with flames twisting and disgorging clouds of black smoke. The bull's desperate bellows fill the air and reverberate across the sea. Their cries are both a plea for help and a curse directed toward us. The steamer starts to settle faster by the stern. Another minute, and the ship vanishes completely. The steam boilers exploded, raising a massive column of water, ship's last breath. The steamer was no more. The sea swelled. The moray accelerated, leaving the bulls behind. All but one, the black, white-headed and strongest, still struggling to keep up. His bellow cry began in a low register and rose to a high, slightly wailing note. He called out, pleaded, and threatened. The final throes of the dying animal stunned the sailors. Silent and serious, they looked astern. You could imagine everyone had just lost someone important. The electrician's mate Sidorov, this incorrigible drunkard, quietly brushed away his tears. Feeling downcast, I returned to the bow compartment. Crew invited the German captain and his first mate to dinner. They ate and contorted faces into forced smiles, trying to convey, "We are all in this together now." Truly, what can one do when caught between a hammer and an anvil? The evening passed uneventfully, with only a handful of neutral vessel contacts. We once again spent the night submerged. The following day, the weather worsened. We found ourselves approaching a rocky shore cut with secluded coves. The sea thrashed and roared here, with colossal waves relentlessly pounding against the stone fortresses. The water boiled with foam, shattered into volleys of glass shrapnel. The cliffs, marked by the scars of countless battles, gazed solemnly at countless new hordes in white helmets advancing from the mysterious expanse. A thin smoke appeared in the distance. The Moray altered course to intercept the vessel. The smoke grew larger. We were closing the distance. When the masts rose and hedged the blue of the sky, we submerged. After a while, the captain announced from the conning tower, "A German ship, unable to determine the type." We prepared tubes for launch. Some time passed, and the next command came, "Stand by forward." I am manning my right mine tube, clutching the handle of the combat valve, while my foot rests on the stopper lever. A fellow torpedoman's mate mirrors my position at the left tube. We wait, holding our breath for the next command, the most terrible, the most fatal. A suspicion, like a distant flash of lightning in the depth of my soul, hints that the approaching vessel is likely a warship. Near us, at the mouthpiece of the speaking tube, stands the mine officer, Midshipman Kudryavtsov. He is acting as a liaison and observer. His mouth is ajar. His thin neck with a prominent Adam's apple is unnaturally elongated. The tension aboard is mounting. Everyone froze in place, bulging eyes don't blink. With every passing minute, we draw nearer to an invisible threshold. What lies beyond it? This shroud of uncertainty and mystery weighs upon us like cast iron. Right tube? A short pause, but the most painful. We inch through the dark abyss. The heart flutters with anticipation. Fire! The last word rang like a sentence of fate, blew up my ears. Chest quivered. I jerked the handle of the combat valve and at the same time pressed the stopper lever with my foot. Like a fat carcass, the polished mine darted out of the tube, shaking the boat hull. It escaped like a cork from a giant bottle, screeched maliciously and rushed toward the target, roaring with the speed of a courier train. A powerful jolt knocked some sailors to the deck, but they quickly rose to their feet, spreading their legs wide for balance. We braced for the inevitable explosion that would toss our vessel aside. We waited. Left tube, fire! And again, terrible seconds of waiting. We missed both times. Upon discovering that it was a German armed steamer, our captain made the decision to sink it without warning. However, during the most crucial moment, a small mishap occurred. The captain broke his pince-nez, and without it was as blind as a newborn puppy. As a result, the steamer was able to escape unharmed, and we found ourselves in a tight spot once again. We breached the surface and opened the breach hatch just in time to see an enemy destroyer appearing out of nowhere. A submarine's worth enemy, the destroyer was barreling toward us at a flank speed. "Dive!" barked the captain, sliding down the ladder, and then sped up the rest of the commands in rapid succession. The gravity of the situation was evident to all on board. Even our captives, who were seated in the bow compartment, understood the danger we were facing. Both turned white as a sheet and rolled their eyes. The pumps started, the tanks roared. and near the boat, shells had already begun to explode. We were sinking slowly. Ah, dive, dive! We'd gladly dive to the underworld, if only to escape the enemy's kill. Suddenly, above our heads, something hooted, cracked. Glass shards rang, electric lights went out. It felt like my brain exploded, flying out of the skull. Maybe this is death? No, I'm alive. I hear someone praying to God in the impenetrable darkness, and someone cursing obscenely. Before we had time to catch our breath, a terrible rumble closed in on the boat. With a roar like a raging fire, we were run over by something immense. It felt like a multi-story building was collapsing on us. Bang! The moray almost keeled over. Something was breaking, cracking, and tearing above us. The entire boat hull creaked and shuddered. Inside, crockery and every little thing was tossed in the air and landed with a clang. Screams of terror pounded the walls of the steel cigar. The boat sank into the abyss, falling like a stone. This I felt distinctly. This is our eternal grave. Farewell, life. The universe turned its eye away from us forever. With a violent jolt, the moray hit the seabed. The screams choked. For a moment, I thought the entire crew had died in an instant. Probably everyone, just like myself, tried to hear if there was a leak. Chilling horror was strangling everyone. Suddenly, the command tore through the silent darkness. "Calm yourself. Stay calm." It was the captain's voice, a terrible voice. It terrified and subdued us, brought hope. The panic is no more. Correct orders are dispatched from the conning tower. They are followed exactly by the practiced hands, by touch in the complete darkness. In a few minutes, the boat suddenly illuminated, and a glimmer of hope sparkled in everyone's eyes. The depth gauge indicates 132 feet. There are no leaks reported. The relief is palpable. Thank God. We'll break through. The German captain calls us, says something. His lower jaw jumps and his eyes are full of tears and fear, eyes of a man looking at the blade of a threatening knife. He shakes his head and gestures toward his first mate. We take a look. The second German lies motionless on the bunk, huddled, clutching his head in agony. His mouth is gaping, twisted, teeth bared. The bulging eyes stare at us with a frozen horror. We call for the orderly, and he tries to find a pulse or heartbeats. "This one is goner. Cardiac arrest," someone explains. "Yeah, it's hard to handle such a pickle if you're not used to it." The captain inspects the boat, his face devoid of any concern. His calm demeanor has a soothing effect on the crew. We test periscopes and find them stuck, unable to rise or rotate. Most likely both are bent. Now we have to thread by ear, blindfolded. Surfacing before nightfall is no longer an option. Captain orders to blow the ballast partially to make the boat slightly buoyant. Both electric motors are started at the same time. The moray won't budge. The ballast is decreased further, but the depth gauge reading remains the same. The captain passes to the bow compartment. Every pair of eyes looks at him with a silent question. but he says nothing, only bites his lower lip and twists his blond beard, giving it the appearance of an exclamation point. And this is a bad sign. It means that something serious has happened. The danger of the situation dawns on me. The boat hit a silt bank and got sucked in. Should we release all the ballast, there might be a chance to pluck the submarine off the seabed. But what if the destroyer lurks above us, ready to pounce? Death looms large, and if we wait until nightfall, the boat might just set in place. The crew's faces display a mixture of anxiety and resigned acceptance of their fate. The dead man looks at us with frozen eyes. He wants to shout with his open mouth, "You can't go anywhere from here." And, depressed, I think, is there really no way out? "Cover the body," the captain finally orders angrily. Several people carry the dead man to the bow shaft and conceal him under the deck plates. The captain checks his pocket watch and declares confidently, "Rubbish. We'll stay put for a while and then proceed directly to our port. In the meantime, everyone can entertain themselves as they please. As the devil once said while sitting naked in a patch of nettles." The captain's smile is infectious, and we all smile back. We have faith in his lucky star, and we know he knows the moray better than some men know their own wives. Surrounding the captain, the officers converse with the captive in German. We listen, but the words are gibberish to us. The German captain tries to smile, but his expression twists into a grimace. "Our German friend doesn't want us to end up rammed by a destroyer," our captain explains. "He wishes us a safe journey. Seems like he's quite a patriot." The officers move to the wardroom, and I am left alone with my thoughts. What desires would each of us have if we found ourselves in this position among the Germans? Machinist's mate Zalekin nudges me. "What is up, brother?" "Nothing much." "Oh, nothing. So why does a ram's tail hang down while a goat stands up?" Zalekin pauses for a moment and then continues. "No, you should think about it. It's a question of philosophical importance, one might say. It is all about the meaning of life." "Oh, you such a yap." Sailors are laughing. Zalekin looks around with a mischievous glint in his eye. "Oh, brothers, such a thing happened to me recently." "Come on, friend, bring it on, indulge the crew," the sailors pester him. "I won't indulge you, but I'll tell you a fact," begins Zalekin. "Where should I start? So I'm walking down the street. It is late and dark already, and the street is empty. Suddenly, I notice a tiny maid walking toward me, swaying like a little boat on a light wave. And behind her, in the wake, there is a dog with a pretty serious mug. A hefty St. Bernard's boy, the size of a calf. I'm closing in on the maid's beam. Well, then you know the drill. Spin the yarn, spend the night in the barn. Things are going well. We walk around the city, and as we pass by one fenced garden, I decide the place is right, well shaded. Our dire circumstances are forgotten. Almost the entire crew, including myself, are huddled around the funny machinist's mate. I hug my lovely mate and commence kissing, and she, as any woman would in her position, starts to moan and groan, pretends I'm forcing her. Something slams into my side, tosses me to the deck, tits up. I crack my eyes open a bit, and holy mother of God, it is the dog. Maw gaping, fangs bared, growls right in my face. I lost the nerve a bit, can't even squeal. This is when the maid is back into the picture. Trésor, let him be! Don't touch him, come here! The dog lets my soul repent, lets me go. I put myself together bit by bit, crawling slowly in reverse. All my internal and external mechanisms are unscrewed and good for nothing. The little maid beckons me back. Hell no, missy. Enough love for today. My soul just dried up. Crew's nervous laughter splashes for a while inside the submarine. I think if not for Zalekin, we would all go nuts. From the conning tower, the captain orders rig for surface. Oh, will we ever see the light of God again? The water is blown from the tanks. The electric motors are set to full ahead. The officers, the whole crew, and even the captive captain are trying to rock the boat, rushing from side to side like madmen. To starboard! To port! Orders the exec. The boat refuses to budge, trapped in the gums of the sealed bank. Despair once again grips us, sending a chill down our spines. It is time for the last resort, launching a mine. If this doesn't work, Moray will become our eternal coffin. Electric motors, full back, barks the captain. The mine slams forward. The submarine twitches like a living being and rushes up swiftly, happy to break away from the silt. The destroyer is far away. We manage to submerge again without being noticed and proceed at a depth of 30 or 40 feet. With no operational periscopes, the submarine is blind and we only surface again at night. Zobov tosses the news about Moray into the ether. End of part 4.